What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, exclusively here, as always, on the Casa D18 Studios channel. I, of course, am the Renegade J.J. Williams, and today I'm going to be discussing from 1993, Mr. Nanny, starring Hulk Hogan, Sherman Hemsley, Austin Pendleton, Robert Gorman, Madeline Zima, Mother Love, and David Johansen, aka Buster Poindexter. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me here once again, as always, on a brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. I appreciate you guys tuning in today, as you do every day, to hear my thoughts on these classic movies. Today's is going to be no different. It's the third film we've featured this month starring Hulk Hogan. We've done No Holds Barred. We've done Suburban Commando. So now it's time for Mr. Nanny. And in this one, Hulk Hogan plays Shawn Armstrong, former wrestler, lives in Palm Beach, Florida, and he's kind of suffering from wrestler's days nightmares. In the opening sequence, we see him sitting on a dock fishing, kind of daydreaming, and we see Brutus Beefcake, Kamala, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, George the Animal Steel, and Afa of the Wild Samoans, all just taking turns beating the crap out of Shawn Armstrong, running his head into the turnbuckle pad, the whole nine. Shawn's friend and former manager is Bert Wilson, and Bert has a bum leg from saving Shawn's life one day. We'll get into how that all happened a little bit later because it ties into the story of the film. He's having financial difficulties with his security business. So, after a little bit of overdramatics, a little bit of overacting, he's able to talk Shawn into taking a bodyguard job for Alex Mason, head of the tech firm Mason Systems. Now, Mason Systems is in the process of developing this anti-missile system called the Peacefinder Project. Its sole purpose is to shoot down any missile that may be trying to attack us from any other country, space, domestic, someone firing off missiles within the United States. The whole point is to stop wars by having this system that anytime a missile gets launched at us, can take it down from the air. And all the vital information for the project is on this little microchip. Now, much to Shawn's dismay, it's not Mason or the microchip that he's being hired to protect. It's Mason's kids, Alex Jr. and Kate. Now, it just so happens that Alex and Kate are two very mischievous brats who are constantly trying to get attention from their often absent father by wreaking havoc in the house via pranks and booby traps designed to target the nannies that their hires to watch them. See, Alex Sr. is so caught up in his work and trying to design the system that oftentimes when he comes home, he has no time for his kids. All they want is some attention from their dad. All they want is to be loved. So they do these things, acting out, hoping that their dad will have to pay attention to them because he's going to have to punish them, reprimand them, something. But it just never happens. So they keep it up and they keep it up. Now, as Sean arrives to the house to begin his assignment, he sees the most recent nanny running out the front door and jumping into the fountain in the front yard because her hair's on fire. And unfortunately for Alex and Kate, like I said, their father seems to always be too distracted with their work or too lenient, which just causes the kids to keep acting up. And the children begin to turn their focus and their pranks onto Sean. And Sean, no doubt, gets frustrated. He contemplates leaving a couple times. The kids are definitely starting to get to him. But every time that they pull a prank, he ends up deciding to stay. As a result, Kate, the little girl, the youngest, starts to take a liking to Sean. She keeps trying to tell Alex he's not like the others. And although Alex agrees, he wants to try one final test onto Sean. The pit of blood. And if Sean can survive this test, he promises he'll leave him alone. If Sean doesn't survive this test, hopefully Sean will leave and they'll be on to the next nanny, I guess. So Kate begins to holler, help, help, I can't swim, I can't swim. Sean runs to the rescue, falls into the swimming pool that's filled with red dye, and looks like he's fallen into a pit of blood. Sean snaps. He's had enough. He is done with the pranks. He's done with the booby traps. He's done with the disrespect. And finally, he starts to exert some authority around there to the kids. He tells them to sit down and be quiet. And he tells them that they cannot move until he tells them to move. Obviously, Alex, at first, doesn't want to do it. He's like, who are you to tell us what to do? But Sean snaps again. He's like, sit down. Alex sits down. He wants no part of it. Sean goes, cleans himself off. And Alex Sr. comes home from work. And, sees the red footprints along the house. Wants to know what happened. Sean tells him. Leads him into, I believe it was the living room. And turns on the lights. It's been dark in this room. And there's the kids just sitting there, quiet, like Sean told them. This is an eye-opening experience for Alex Sr. He has never disciplined his kids like this before, obviously. And now he starts to realize what he needs to do to make an impact. He attempts to bond with his kids a little bit more. And he's about to go take a trip and at first he tells Sean to tell the kids that he loves them. And Sean's like, have you got something better to do than to tell them yourself? And he's like, you're right. You're right. So Alex Sr. goes in there and he tells both his kids how much he loves them and that he'll be back. And oh, if that were all that there was to it. But no. We have to get into the meat and potatoes of this film now. Apparently, Tommy Thanatos is after the Mason Systems microchip. And he'll stop at nothing to get a hold of it. Because, like I said, this microchip is set to destroy missiles that are attacking us. They don't say it in the film, but I'm sure Thanatos wants it to be able to prevent that from happening in order to help start the wars instead of end them. Now, it just so happens that Sean and Bert have a past history with Thanatos. During Sean's wrestling days, Thanatos ordered him to throw a wrestling match. And when Sean didn't do the job, Thanatos attempted to shoot Sean. Bert jumped in front and ended up taking the bullet in the leg, hence his bum leg, protecting Sean in the process. Sean chased Thanatos to the stadium rooftop, and after a fight between the two, Thanatos ended up plunging off the rooftop into an empty swimming pool. Obviously, Thanatos didn't die, because here he is now in the present, but he did fracture his skull and now has a steel plate on his head, which resulted in the removal of part of his afro, which he was very proud of. Thanatos is played by Buster Poindexter, David Johansen. If you don't know who Buster Poindexter is, pause this video, open up another tab in YouTube, and look up Buster Poindexter, Hot, Hot, Hot. And after you watch that video and hear that song, you should know exactly who this guy is. I watched this film and I'm looking at Thanatos and I'm like, I know him from somewhere. Why do I know him? So I Googled him and realized that David Johansen is the real name of Buster Poindexter. The more you know. So, back to the plot here. Thanatos is able to kidnap Alex Sr. while he's on his way to this trip that he's supposed to take with the help of Frank Olson. Now, Frank is the security chief of Mason Systems. He's like Alex Sr.'s right hand in the company. And Sean's supposed to be reporting to him while Sean is on premises. Everything that he's doing to try to protect the Masons at home, because this microchip is supposed to get reported to Frank. But Frank is a double agent. He's reporting everything to Thanatos. Once Frank's fulfilled his usefulness and they have Alex Sr., they eject Frank through the roof of the vehicle. He's gone. He's out of the picture for the rest of the film. Now, once Alex Sr. is in Thanatos' possession, obviously Thanatos demands that he hands over the microchip, but he doesn't have it. Suspecting that something could happen to him on this trip, Alex Sr. put the microchip in Kate's doll back at home. So he physically doesn't have it on him. Thanatos then orders for his goons to go attack and kidnap Alex and Kate, his kids, hoping that this will force Alex Sr. to comply and cough up the microchip. And despite an attempt to fight off Thanatos' goons by Sean and Bert, they're overmatched, outnumbered, and they're successful in getting Alex and Kate. They even go ahead and grab Bert too, because of Bert's past connection to Thanatos, as a little added bonus in their revenge plot. Sean is able to track Thanatos down, and with the help of his newfound friends, the rest of the Mason family, Sean is able to defeat the villains. Alex Jr. and Alex Sr., while the fight's going on, prepare this electromagnet to target Thanatos' steel plate in his skull. And as Thanatos is preparing to charge after Sean, they kick on the power. The electromagnet launches Thanatos into the night, leaving behind the steel plate. Our film ends with Sean getting ready to take his leave. Now that Alex Sr. is back home, going to be showing a little bit more attention to the kids. However, Alex and Kate, they don't want him to leave. So they pull one last prank, attaching a steel cable to his motorcycle so that as Sean tries to drive off, the cable eventually snatches the bike out from under him and doesn't allow him to leave. Jeff was absolutely right when we did our live broadcast of No Holds Barred. Hulk's films just get better and better. Obviously, Suburban Commando is my favorite. It always will be my favorite. And I've seen Mr. Nanny a few times too. But for some reason, I enjoyed it more this time than I have in the past, if that makes any sense. Not really sure why. Could it be the revelation that Thanatos, David Johansen, is Buster Poindexter? Possibly. Could be. Could it be the fact that Austin Pendleton is in this film? Possibly. Because the other times I had seen this, I didn't remember that Austin Pendleton was the dad. And for those of you that are scratching your heads like, who is Austin Pendleton? Why would he matter? He might not matter to you guys, but to me, Austin Pendleton will always be Doc Hopper's sidekick, Max, from the original Muppet movie. And me being a lifelong Muppets fan, seeing him pop up in another film 14 years later? So, oh, okay. You're the dad in this. All right. Austin Pendleton also plays Santa, essentially, in Christmas with the Cranks. The old man that shows up at the party and no one really knows who he is, where he came from. But it's basically revealed that he is Santa Claus in that film. Okay. Kudos on you, Austin Pendleton. Another one, the boy, Robert Gorman. I discovered when doing some research on this film, plays Tim Matheson's son in Sometimes They Come Back. Sometimes They Come Back is one of my favorite Stephen King films. It came out there in the early 90s when Stephen King films were made for TV movies. It was right after It. And I just adore that film. So discovering that he played the lead's son in that film, maybe that has something to do with it. The reason I like this movie now all of a sudden might just have to do with discovery and discovering all these people that I know from other things that are connected to this film. Sherman Hemsley, obviously iconic. George Jefferson. But the other three names that I just listed off, Austin Pendleton, Robert Gorman, and David Johansen, aka Buster Poindexter, I either had forgotten were in this film, I didn't know were in this film. But like I said, just discovering those connections really, really helped reel this film into me a little bit and made it a little bit better, in my opinion, this time around. For my rating, I'm going to give 3.5 out of 5. I can't rate it as high as I did Suburban Commando, and I believe I gave that 4. I can't rate it higher than Commando, but 3.5 out of 5. I feel that it's better than No Holds Barred, but not as good as Suburban Commando. So there's that right there. Let's make sure we get out there on social media, get those hashtags trending, hashtag Casa D18 Studios, hashtag Renegades Reviews, hashtag Renegade Returns, and of course the ever popular hashtag Shenanigans. We interrupt this episode of Renegades Reviews for an important announcement about
merchandising.
Merchandising? What's that?
Merchandising. Come, I'll show you. Merchandising, where the real money's made.
Make sure you go over to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network for all the t-shirts you see here from the West Coast professor, Jeff Meacham himself. You can get shirts for the Jeff Meacham Network, Talk Wrestling, as well as the red and gold Meachamania shirts. And while you're there, don't forget to get your shirts of the Casa D18 Studios Brotherhood, the Dads on Wrestling shirt, the Renegade J.J. Williams, Statboy Sports Bar, and the hashtag StatBoyApproved shirt. Make sure you go over to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network and score your shirts today. Don't forget to do what the commercial just told you. Get out there. Go to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network. Get you your official shirts for the Jeff Meacham Network, Talk Wrestling and Meachamania. Get your official t-shirts for the Casa D18 Studios Brotherhood, the Renegade J.J. Williams, Dad's Not Always on Wrestling, Statboy Approved, and so much more. Tomorrow, right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, where I will bring you yet another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. Make sure you tune in as I discuss Boone the Bounty Hunter, starring John Morrison, Kevin Sorbo, Quentin Rampage Jackson, and many, many others. That one should be another very interesting one to check out. It'll be my third John Morrison film that I'll be featuring this month as I tackle movies starring wrestlers. So make sure you're here for that. Make sure you guys leave me your comments in the comment box below. I will reply to them as always, and might even read a couple when I do my episode of Renegade Recap at the end of the month. Until then, thank you all for tuning in. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time.